He has changed. Excerpt. Once you fall in love with someone, the reasons why you fall for them do not matter anymore. It doesn't matter how much the person changes or whether he stays just the same. Will everything be different now? She mentally cursed herself for thinking those words. That was undoubtedly the most selfish thought that had ever crossed her mind. Of course, he had changed. It would have been extremely unsurprising if he hadn't. He had spent the last whole year fighting for the country. She couldn't expect him to return as the same happy-go-lucky young guy whom she'd fallen for. He had witnessed incidents that traumatized people for life. He had watched the people he loved, his own friends, take their last breaths. He had spent one whole agonizing year without his family, not knowing whether he would ever see them again. How could she expect him to stay the same after all of that? She needed to stop being so self-centered. In no way was she behaving like the fiancé of an army man. Here he was sacrificing his life for the country, and all she could think about was the impact it would have on her love life. Selfish, selfish, selfish. She was still cursing herself as she joined the welcoming crowd. He was surrounded by their family and friends, laughing and crying in his arms. She marveled the way he tolerated all the public display of affection so amicably. A trait which she deeply envied. Plus he seemed completely at ease amongst the melodramatic gang. Then again, he ever been ill at ease? He was always the charming, talkative guy. The one people easily gravitated towards. The life of the party. He was the one who comforted anyone and everyone. He was their depression therapy, their stress buster. She stared at him with a sudden pang in her heart. What on earth had she been worrying about? She had got more than she had ever wished for, more than she deserved. His eyes scanned the crowd briefly and stopped at her. His lips turned up into the kind of smile which brightened up his entire face. The smile which he had always reserved for her, and all the doubts in her mind were just washed away. He was here, in front of her. They were together. Finally. And nothing else seemed to matter. Or did it? Throughout the journey and after reaching home, she got a chat with him. This was one of few disadvantages of living in a joint family. There was almost too much love to share. Everyone was so delighted to have their brave son back home that they all wanted to be with him. Her parents were behaving as if he was their own son. She had always loved the way he had blended everything into her family. Her parents trusted completely, so much that she sometimes had to wonder which of them was their own child. But right now, she wished everyone could just love him a little less. After all, she too was meeting fiancé after one whole year. She deserved some alone time with him. She didn't take her eyes off him throughout lunch. She wanted to soak up every single bit of him, now that he was here, and that was when she started noticing stuff. They were just little things no one could point their finger on, but she had always been more of a listener, and so she noticed stuff that other people didn't. Especially him. She skillful at the top of someone else's. At the board, he had an unfathomable expression on his face. Every time someone praised him about his bravery or gushed about how proud they were to have him in the family, his lips were pulled up into an appropriate curve, but the spark in his eyes was missing. He laughed at their jokes, but you could spot a pain in his soft voice. He was doing everything right. There was nothing out of the textbook. But a WSNT real. He was acting. And he was doing it well. Her trail of thoughts was distraught as his arm wore into her. She forced a smile on her face the way she had been through. Yes, acting, and was the only one who had noticed this. But then again, no one. DOSNT it was standing enormous terror at his back. She wondered what he would hear alone, and joining in their traditional routine of post-chat had always been one of his fashions. Even before their engagement, he used to come for dinner at her house. He stayed till late talking and laughing with her family. Even after she got bored with all the gossip and went upstairs to sleep, he would still down-talk them. After a while realized that he wasn't just doing this to impress her. He genuinely enjoyed being a part of her family, and that was one of the best compliments for her. She walked up to the railing and placed her hand on top of his. He looked up with a startled expression, like she had disturbed him from some deep thought. When he saw it was her, he relaxed and weaved his fingers through hers. "Hi," she whispered, staring into his eyes unblinkingly. He lifted their intertwined hands and gently brushed his lips against her fingers. "Hi," he whispered back. And they just stood there in the moonlight, holding hands, looking out at the sky, not finding it necessary to fill the silence. He was the one who spoke first. "How's the job going?" She scoffed without meaning to. Out of all the things in the world, he had chose to talk about her 4x4 meters cubical life. "It's going," she replied, grinning at him. He smiled back apologetically. "I am sorry, it's just I am seeing you after such a long time, and there's so much that I want to say, I don't even know where to begin." She turned sideways to face him. She lifted her hand and gently caressed his cheek. Brushed her fingers tenderly against the scar on his jawline. "You can start by telling me how you got that?" He, not attempting to compose his expression like he had been doing all day long. She knew him well enough to understand it was not the pain that was bothering him. This was the same guy who sauntered around in the garden with 3 fractures. Does it hurt? She asked softly. He paused before answering, knowing what she meant. Sometimes. He shifted his eyes from her to look at the dark sky. A slight smile spread across his lips. For the most part, it feels great. You waited for him to continue. Do you remember our old neighbor Mrs. Chatterjee? She was one of the greatest storytellers I have ever met. She nodded, wondering where this was going. She had Alzheimer's. Her memory was slowly fading away. I had her talking to my grandmother about it. She was saying that the worst part wasn't being ill or helpless. The worst part was she was slowly starting to lose herself. She'd no longer remember the most important parts of her life, her smiles, her tears. I made her who she is. Her memories. And when I told you that, you said that we should help her remember. She smiled at memory of her 10-year-old nature, his hunster fingered and so spent her last days in gloom, losing her and wondering what a loving had done to such fate. You took me to her house every day with a photo album. You would sit with and tell her stories about her own self, about us, our families, narrate the stories she tell us when we were kids. In spite of the fact she never remembered the stories on the next day. You never repeated. She had eventually forgotten us, but you continued with your routine. Even remember your name, but she would smile every time you came over. She listened to amazement. Never known that he remembered every detail about their childhood together. He continued, with his lips turning up into a smile. My grandmother once told you gently that Mrs. Chatterjee's condition wasn't something that could be cured. She had only got a few days left. No matter how hard we tried, we would never be able to change this fact. And you told her that you weren't trying to change anything. You were merely doing your own part in making difference. No matter what outcome was, you would keep trying till the very end. He turned while at her shocked expression. That was the moment when I for you. My heart was just 10 years old. First thing I remembered was fighting, that what the outcome was. No matter how much it hurt. This is the tree I am fighting for. I didn't think about what happened to me. I was doing my own. She didn't. He realized he had been crying until he bent down to keep tears away. It's the beautiful feeling, the very part of your mind and soul something. Fighting, defending it, feeling fierce, protective about, knowing that you are so deeply in now, that no way out of her. This is your life now. This is his eyeing as he turned her. Have you ever felt that? Loving so much no matter what happens, no matter how much it hurts, or will lose in the process, you can never fall out of love with it. She stared at the person in front of her, the 5-year boy who had introduced himself as new neighbor. The little boy filled her silence with non-stop chatter. The boy who had listened to her stories over and over again. The boy who accompanied her when she had been doing her part, and now the person whom she was going to accompany for the rest of their life, while he did his part. He was right. Once you fall in love with someone, the reasons why you for them do not matter anymore. It doesn't matter how much the person or whether he stays just the same. Doesn't matter that you survive every day knowing whether your last time together would be your last time ever. It doesn't matter that just one bullet, one would be enough to snatch that person away from you. You chose to love them. You chose to walk on a path where the only way to go is straight ahead. Someone with your heart and soul, there's no way to stop. Won't you? Rain, you? Rain forever. And so she smiled through her tears at the little boy with the bright smile and the scar. Man was eyes passion that she would not want anything more. Be even the next time, and I will in love with him all over again. Thank you for watching.